Alright, we're back. Time to put this thing together so you can see what's going on. So, first thing I want to do is put a bearing on there and a seal. Put on the seal I want to use. And that'll tell me if we actually have room to do this or not. We're doing it without the primary. Looks like we already ran out of room. So I'll pull the seal back off, just put the bearing on, and then put that on. Looks like there should have been room, but not sure. Tighten this up a little bit. I need a space under here, about an inch thick. Block of wood would be nice, or something that's about an inch thick. Not a box though. Got our pressing block here. That'll work. A little thicker I need, but it's alright. I want to get the clutch off the ground here so I can rotate it without a problem. Tight. Rotate things so they're not wobbling real bad. If they're not wobbling, you're probably pretty good. Okay, so that is our clearance right there. So there's our bearing sitting in there. So somewhere in there they have a bunch of parts. You see our seal right here. See how the seal does not clear the high gear lip in there? Clears the outside of the high gear, but not that lip. That's where we run out of room. So that pretty much means that we're not putting this together like this. If you were to do it, you'd have to cut the gear away, and you have to cut the shaft down to the 25mm diameter, and then polish it so it's smooth. Then you could do it, because there's a lot of material you can cut away on that gear. You can see how much you got there. You got all that clearance right there. See, we're on the gear right now. See how much the bearing moves? That's how much extra clearance you got. So to do that, I would take the whole tranny apart, pull the gear out of the case, machine it, take the main shaft, strip it down, put it in lathe, cut it down, polish it, and make it work. That all can be done, but it's a lot of work. So this seal is too thick. Now if you go in a seal book, you can probably hunt down a seal that's the correct diameter. It's a 3/16 width one, instead of one that's probably 5/16, whatever this is. This might be a 1/4 inch, I'm not sure. Looks like it's bigger than a 1/4 inch to me, but let's see what we got. It is a 1/4 inch. So if you had one that was 3/16 in width, you'd probably get away with this. So you have to go in there and look it up on the computer and see if one's available or not. It's obviously not a Harley seal, but doesn't mean you can't get one. So that's the option I would recommend doing, is go look for it. So this seal right now, we had a, what was the diameter? This is a 25 ID, 52 OD, and a 7mm thickness. So we need to find one that's probably 5mm thickness, or at least 6, but it's got to be thinner than this. So if you can find one of those, then you can put that in there with the sealed bearing, and it'll probably be pretty good. But without all of that stuff, it ain't going to happen. Now that's not having a primary in there. Now we put the primary in there, it might be even worse than that. So that's our next test, to see what we got to work with a primary on it. Because remember, there's a lip over here on the primary that might be causing a problem. Plus it kind of dictates where the bearing sits. So I'm going to take this back off and put on the primary on there. And this still wasn't on all the way either. That was just lightly on. It was not pressed on. We're probably going another 30 thou when you yank on it hard, so it's going to be negative a bunch. Actually, that goes on here. Now this here, how many bolts we got to hold these on? Looks like we got 2 on the bottom, 2 on the side, and the starter housing. Okay. So this needs to go an overhang. We got room for all this stuff. Okay, so we have a couple bolts we could use. I think they're about 2.5 inches long, would probably do the trick. So get a couple bolts out of the bolt bin. He didn't send me any hardware, so I need to get to go over here and move the bike and get over here to get some hardware. There's some bolts right here, but these are way too long, I think. These are almost an inch too long, these two here. Nice picture of an oil tank, huh? There we go. Okay, let's give these two a try. I got to work with here. Perfect. A 1/2 inch of thread engagement. Oh, this one's totally different here. He was stripped or something wrong with it. Missing threads. Oh yeah. Both horrible looking. Yeah. Looks like they're 3/8 of an inch or better. Not 5/16. Hardware at. We got 1 3/8 washer here. Yeah, kind of got 2. Okay, we'll try some 3/8 bolts and see if that works. There's some lousy feeling bolts. I think somebody put 3/8 bolts in here. I don't think they're stock. Yeah, these holes are not stock. Bogus. Hard to believe used parts are bad. Can't believe such a thing would happen. I think we're using those holes. Alright, let's use some different holes. About 1 inch long hardware. Yeah. That might work. Bolts feel like crap. Everything about this transmission's bad. That one's tight. Well, I need one more on the bottom. Same length, same everything, looks like. Bolt around here somewhere. A lot of silicone or glue in this transmission case, primary combo. This might be a longer bolt than I had on the other one, maybe. This tension's too short. Okay, we're pulling square and tight now. Now we gotta look in there and see what we can see about primary fitment. So now we gotta look down inside this big thing and hole down in there. One of these. Alright. So you're looking right in that hole right there. Trying to determine how much clearance you got. So you got almost nothing. The bearing can slide over more. You can see how the gap there, but why is the bearing not sliding? So now the bearing's tight. Doesn't want to slide. So you can see how the bearing and the seal, there's no room for a seal. You can see how the bearing's right up against the high gear right now. And our clearance is about a 1/16 of an inch. That's about all that's in there. Damn it. I don't know if you can see in there with this or not. It's hard to see. Hard to see. I can see with my eyeballs, but I don't know if you can see with your eyeballs. See, there's a gap right there. That's our gap. For some reason the bearing's tight. It's bound up right now. So it's all the way against the high gear. So that's our clearance. So there's no way you can put a seal in there. So the next problem is, can you move this out? And I'm pretty sure the clutch is in our way for doing that one. So let's take a look at that. See what our options are on that one. Pretty sure there's none. So there's no way of seeing what's going on in there. Okay. You just put your fingers back in there and take a look, right? Yeah, sure. Don't have much access to see. The only access we got to see is through here. The camera can actually get in there and see. I can't see. So if I rotate that, I can tell it's moving. It's not moving. There's our clearance. Looks like you get about the head of the bolt. I'm not sure if they're on top of each other. Can't tell the diameter difference between the bolt head and then inner race, but either way there's not a lot of room in there. It's pretty tight. There's no way I can see on my head because my head does not fit in that hole right there and see. I can't see straight, so having the camera actually helped on that one. The problem is I can't tell the diameters differences. Back in here again. Can't see that either. This is our best options right here. This is the only way you can see it all. Either that's limited vision. There we go. Okay, so you can see the bolt head's got about a 1/2 inch gap between the boss way down in there, but you only got about an 1/8 of an inch gap to the primary at most. And then that other shoulder down there at the very bottom looks like it's pretty much up against the hub also. So there's very, very little room extra on the setup. Looks like they pretty much designed this one to be a thin bearing, and that's it. Nothing extra. So it's pretty much no adding a seal to this primary at all. Not with this combination of parts. So that would be a no-go situation here. Not going to work at all. Things are very tight in there. Now this one you can see a little better what's going here. Get a better view from this angle. On this side anyway, but still you got to see the bearings right up against the gear right now. And the bearing's only sticking out past the cover 1/16 of an inch or so. So at most you have like 1/8 of an inch clearance max, probably more like 100 thou. If you add in the gap between the high gear here and the bearing was not in all the way. The bearing, instead of being against the inside of the flange, it was in like this. So you got about a 1/16 on this side. You got another 50 on this side, maybe. Like I said, the bearing's right on the gear. There's no clearance, so that's 100 thou. That's zero clearance, and zero clearance doesn't work very good for seals. So you just don't have no room. So you'd have to cut the high gear away, and then machine a shaft over, and then you could probably get a seal in there, 3/16 seal maybe, if it was available. And that would be iffy. That if part would be a big if. So pretty much shit out of luck on that. So our only options is going to be is to use seal bearings like this, double sealed. And I'll have to sleeve the primer to fix the damage where it's loose. Go back to a nice tight fit, and you're done. There's nothing else you can do. You can't fix this thing correctly. So these early bikes are what they are. So this is basically a 79 to early 84 setup, is what this is, because we still had the 4-speed clutch in this thing. Late 84 they went to the Evo clutch, the aluminum basket. And it's basically what this is. This is an FXR, so it's 82, 83, and early 84, but the FLT has the same setup. The only difference is they had a shifter shaft up in here, but it's the same, everything's the same back here. So these things are made to be what they are, no changing. Alright, well there you go. Here's a part number 79, because it fits an FLT, even though it's off an FXR. Well, that means the FLT didn't have a shifter off the front of it. There's no boss, so I wonder how the FLT shifted. That's weird. 79 primary. No A code or B or C on it. There's something there, but I don't think that's a letter. Not sure how they would have done the shifter on the big turd. So maybe they went through the inner primary like an FXR, but I don't think so. I do not think they did that. They might have, because I don't see no forward shifter. Oh well, there you go. Another project that's actually got easier. Now I just got to make a sleeve. Don't have room to do anything else. So, all right, there you go.